Hey, everyone! If you enjoy my quantum audiobooks, you can support me by becoming a Patreon member. Your support helps me keep creating, and you'll get exclusive perks. You can also access my audiobooks directly through Google Drive. Check out the link in the description. Now, let's get started.
Yuzuki, in a daze, Shurgong US seemed to hear someone calling him, but he smacked his lips and ignored it, turned over, and continued to sleep. Suddenly, the quilt under my feet was lifted, and accompanied by a cold wind, a cold and soft thing quietly crawled in from under my feet. Climbing all the way up the body, UF finally felt something heavy pressing on her chest. Well, he opened his eyes sleepily, and what came into view was Ino's delicate and lovely face. But at this moment, that cute face was pouting, obviously angry. "It's what's wrong, Ino?" After a long yawn, US smiled at her. "What's wrong? It's almost afternoon, and you're still sleeping. Get up quickly." Ino stared at him and stretched out her two cold hands towards Yuu's neck. It was already autumn, and the temperature was dropping rapidly, which instantly made Yue feel cold and sober. "Yes." Shurgong Yue's eyes widened, and he sat up suddenly. "You're crazy." Yue couldn't help but screamed. Yue's physique is indeed incomparably strong, and can ignore extreme heat and extreme ice. But in his daily life, he still experiences the world in an ordinary way, feeling the warmth in winter and the coolness in summer. It seems this method is very useful. Seeing that she had successfully woken up Yutsuki, Ino smiled proudly. She stood up with her hands on her hips and said condescendingly, "Just wash up and get ready to go." "Where are you going?" Yue asked with her head down, her eyes fixed on one location. "The Hokage's office." Ino replied. "The third generation has captured two people with unknown intentions. They are very tight-lipped and refuse to speak no matter what torture they use. The fourth generation adults said that if you were here, there would definitely be a way. So they asked me to come and call you." "Hey, are you listening to me?" Ino said dissatisfiedly, because she found that Yu didn't even raise her head when she was talking, and she kept her head down and didn't know what she was doing. "You didn't fall asleep again?" Seeing that Yue hadn't moved, Ino couldn't help but become suspicious. So she stretched out her leg and kicked Yue's arm, but found that Yue's head moved as her toes moved. Ino was stunned for a moment, then took two tentative steps as if she had discovered something. Sure enough, Yue's eyes followed her legs, as if they were glued to them. Ino frowned suddenly, clenched her fists, and said with gritted teeth, "You're such a pervert." Bang! A white and tender jade foot was directly imprinted on Yue's face. "Ah, so generous." Pushing the door open, the full view of the Hokage's office appeared in front of Yue. The clean and tidy office was empty. Minato Namikaze sat on a chair and carefully examined a document. "Yue, you are here." Hearing the sound of the door, Minato looked up, and when he saw it was Shinomiya Yutsuki, he immediately put down the documents in his hand, stood up, and walked forward with a smile on his face. What happened to your face?" When he got closer, Minato discovered that there was a red mark on Yue's face. "It's okay. This is a reward." Yue waved her hand. "Where are the two people you captured now?" "The prison." He was actually arrested. Yutsuki couldn't help laughing, thinking about how Sasuke's strength in Boruto was weakened, and his performance was even not half as good as in Shippuden. "I didn't expect that it would be even more embarrassing now. I was actually caught by the local people of Konoha. I'll go take a look. You go ahead and do your work." After saying hello to Minato, Yue turned and left. Konoha Prison. Adult Sasuke and Boruto were imprisoned in the same cell, but fortunately they were not particularly ill-treated. It can even be said that the treatment was quite decent. They were not chained, and were provided with food and beds. At this moment, Boruto was sleeping soundly in bed. "Name?" A Konoha Umbu asked coldly through the iron railings, holding a notebook tightly in his hand, ready to take notes. Adult Sasuke remained silent. "Gender? Isn't it obvious at first glance?" Sasuke finally couldn't help but answer. "Gender, a hard little kunai with a pointy head and a long tail." Umbu glanced at him, as if sizing him up, then lowered her head and began to write. "What is this? Is this called gender?" Sasuke's mouth twitched, feeling extremely confused. Umbu lowered his head and continued recording. This is what Master Yuzuki instructed. All those whose gender is unknown should be recorded in this way. Man, I'm a man. Seeing that the other party seemed to really want to write the strange content into the book, Sasuke became anxious. However, Umbu remained silent and just kept recording. Seeing that the other party had no reaction, Sasuke felt angry. Okay, next question. What is your purpose in coming to Konoha? Finally, Umbu stopped writing and looked up at the person in front of him. Sasuke just sneered and decided not to say another word. What is your purpose in coming to Konoha? Umbu spoke again, his tone monotonous and repetitive. These words seemed to be a repeater, constantly hitting Sasuke's eardrums. What is your purpose in coming to Konoha? What is your purpose in coming to Konoha? Every sentence is uttered at a specific frequency, like a magic sound filling your ears. Sasuke suddenly felt slightly dizzy. What is your purpose in coming to Konoha? As the same question was asked again, Sasuke seemed to lose control of himself and almost blurted out the secret in his heart. I'm here to protect Naruto. Fortunately, at the most critical moment, Sasuke's left eye's Rinnegan activated instantly, pulling him back from the state of confusion he was about to fall into. Looking up at the ordinary yet strange Umbu, Sasuke was filled with horror. Hypnosis is performed with sound. The teasing questions about gender earlier were clearly meant to pique his anger, thus making him more susceptible to genjutsu control. After finding out that his trick had been exposed, Umbu simply shrugged and turned away from the scene. Although Sasuke knew that he would never be easily fooled again after this experience, he still felt very annoyed if the other party kept chattering. Just as he was about to breathe a sigh of relief, the sound of footsteps approaching from afar interrupted his thoughts. Another visitor showed up. Sasuke's heart suddenly tightened, and he felt extremely helpless. He had come here originally to ensure that Naruto would not be harmed by Otsutsuki Urashiki, but he ended up being thrown into prison and unable to escape. He could never understand how he, with the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and the 6 Magatama Samsara Eye, could lose to Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Shaman King. At that time, I was full of vigor and vitality and didn't even take Uchiha Madara seriously. But now, thinking of this, he lowered his head involuntarily and sighed. Suddenly, a loud bang broke the silence. Adult Sasuke looked up and saw a handsome young man leaning against the wall, looking at him with a smile. Sasuke's eyes froze for a moment. This person, even more handsome than him, is almost comparable to the peak of his appearance at the age of 17. The only flaw was that there was a bright red footprint on this handsome guy's face. Adult Sasuke carried Boruto on his back and followed behind Yuzuki, slowly moving towards the exit of the prison. Who are you? Shirogane Yuzuki. Shirogane Yue? I don't seem to have any impression of you. There are so many people you haven't met. Konoha is so big. Do you really want to know everyone? Shirogane Yue smiled and spread out his hands, looking unconcerned. That being said, your appearance is certainly impressive, almost on par with mine. If you were from Konoha, there's no way I wouldn't have noticed. Sasuke speculated, glancing over his face. Thanks for the compliment. Yue responded with a slight smile. This is a level of beauty that was directly approved by Sasuke himself. Not long after, the three finally left the gloomy prison. There were already a few people waiting outside the door. Adult Sasuke glanced over, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Yue, it seems that we still have to rely on you. Namake's Minato smiled and nodded in praise. To him, since Yue was able to bring them out, it was obvious that she had already conducted a detailed investigation on the other party. I ran out as soon as I woke up. I didn't even have lunch. No matter how busy you are, you must remember to eat on time. Kagaya came over with a lunchbox in her hand, her eyes filled with a mixture of blame and care. Naruto is still taking a nap. Is there something that requires you to come here now? Kurama complained with dissatisfaction while carrying Naruto, who was still taking a nap on his back. Taking a deep breath, Sasuke rubbed his eyes, as if wanting to confirm whether what he saw was real. The mental shocks he had suffered recently were so great that he wondered if he had begun to suffer from hallucinations. Forget about Minato Namikaze. It's not too strange to see such an outstanding Hokage among the many resurrected people. But the question is, how could that woman with tender eyes be the legendary goddess of the rabbit, Otsutsuki Kagaya? As for this Nine Tails, judging from memory, it should be the 60th year of Konoha, right? How come Nine Tails suddenly appeared? And it seems that it has obviously reached some kind of tacit understanding with Naruto. In comparison, Naruto's appearance seems unsurprising. The whole of Konoha is in chaos. Adult Sasuke said almost to himself, "Everything is out of control." Noticing Sasuke's dull expression, Yutsuki shook her head helplessly. Then he waved hello to Minato and took the lunchbox carefully prepared by Kagaya. Finally, he looked at Kurama, who was lying on the side, and gently woke up Naruto, who was still immersed in his dream. Yuzuki, Naruto opened his eyes blearily and suddenly perked up when he saw the former's face. "Come on, let's go play outside." Yue smiled and made an inviting gesture. Okay. After hearing the invitation, Naruto immediately slid off Kurama's back and ran to Yuzuki's side to prepare to set off. "Then we'll go ahead, everyone." After saying goodbye to everyone briefly, Yue dragged the confused and overwhelmed adult Sasuke and walked towards the direction of the Uchiha clan. It was not until the two of them walked some distance away that Sasuke gradually came to his senses. "You." He turned around and looked at Yue in disbelief. "Who are you? Didn't I just tell you? Did you forget so quickly?" Yue pouted. "Yue, who are these two?" Naruto looked at the adult Sasuke and Boruto behind him curiously and asked, "I think they look familiar. Would you like to guess?" Yue gave an intriguing smile. I can't guess." After some hard recall, Naruto finally shook his head to give up. "This is Uchiha Sasuke. The child he is carrying is Uzumaki Boruto." Yue introduced it with a hint of playfulness. "Sasuke." Naruto was shocked, his eyes full of disbelief. "Sasuke, when did you get so big?" Yuzuki shook her head slightly. "It's not that Sasuke is grown up, but the result of time travel. They came back here from the future, which is several decades later." A man from the future. Naruto suddenly looked at Boruto in shock. "So this guy who has the same surname as me and looks so similar to me, could he be?" There was a hint of surprise in the eyes of adult Sasuke and Yuzuki. Could it be that Naruto finally got it this time? "My brother." Puff. Yue couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Yutsuki's strange reaction, Naruto asked with a confused look on his face, "Isn't it?" "Of course not, he is." Yuzuki smiled and was about to explain, but was interrupted by the adult Sasuke. "Okay, Shirgong Yue, don't reveal our identities anymore. You've changed too many things." There was a chill in the adult Sasuke's voice. Yue noticed the other person's attitude and couldn't help but look at him sideways. "I'm just going to say, steam buns? Are you not convinced? You've messed up the entire ninja world, and you're still not satisfied?" Adult Sasuke shouted angrily. He had seen everything clearly. The man in front of him was the source of the chaos. He never appeared in historical records, but he had a clear understanding of everything in the past. If his guess was correct, this Shinomiya Yutsuki should have also descended into the ninja world from the outside world and was definitely not a native of the ninja world. What a mess. Yue was suddenly stunned. "You mean I reunited Naruto's family? The Uchiha clan was not destroyed. The 5 nations lived in harmony, and there was no more war. Is this chaos?" Yue suspected that she had heard something wrong. "Don't try to change the subject. No matter what you do, it is wrong to modify history privately." Shirgong Yue suddenly stopped, turned around, and looked at him. "You mean to say that the original timeline is correct? Danzo manipulated and caused the extinction of your family. The Nine Tails Rebellion caused Naruto to lose his parents. The ninja world has been at war for many years, causing countless casualties. Is this what you call right?" Adult Sasuke was speechless for a moment. No matter how stubborn he was, he couldn't admit that this was right. "It seems that you can't refute it yourself." Yue smiled. "So, the strong change their environment, the weak adapt to it, and the dead become rigid. When you have power in your hands, why not change something you don't like? Adult Sasuke lowered his head and remained silent. Don't be in a daze. Let's go. After all, you're not from our era. When you return, you will continue to be your only Uchiha, and we will continue to live our happy and reunited life. Is that so, Naruto? Ah, yes, yes. During the Spring Festival, we will invite Sasuke, Sakura, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Niji, Tintin, Lee, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino. Also, Itachi, Fugakumakoto, Shursui, Obito. Obito is not necessary. That guy is still in the Hidden Rain village waiting for the Rinnegan to come back on its own. Plus Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Nagato, Yahiko, Konan, third generation, Laoma, Kunai, Kakashi Kai, all of them. We'll have a reunion dinner together then, and you can go back to your empty old Uchiha house and blow the cold wind. How enviable. You can enjoy the whole table by yourself without having to squeeze in like us. Sasuke, why is your face so red? Innocent Naruto asked curiously. Wax to protect against the cold. Sasuke gritted his teeth. They were silent all the way, but the adult Sasuke's face kept turning red and white, as if he was possessed by the face-changing Jiraiya. Don't ask. Just asking will make you feel refreshed. As noisy sounds came from the front, they had already entered the Uchiha clan's territory. Sasuke looked around subconsciously, his eyes revealing an expectation that was difficult to conceal. What would the Uchiha look like without experiencing the night of genocide? Soon he saw it. Under a towering banyan tree, the little boy was playing in a peaceful afternoon, chasing and fighting, carefree. You give me a knife with a wooden kunai, and I give you a knife. How quick it is. On the training ground next to them, several young men who were not afraid of hardships were sweating profusely, with the flashes of swords and shadows of sabers shining brightly. Kunai and shurikens were fired like a violent storm, just to increase the accuracy even a little bit. On the streets, the adult tribesmen were chatting and laughing with each other. The entire territory was filled with laughter, and there seemed to be no tense atmosphere at all. This shows that Uchiha has completely let go of all disputes and is content with the present peace. That's great. Adult Sasuke couldn't help but feel infinite longing in his heart. If there hadn't been that disaster, would his life have been so happy? You're so slow. I've been waiting for you for 10 minutes. Suddenly, a slightly dissatisfied voice came from the front, and several people looked up. Uchiha Sasuke was leaning against a tree, his arms folded across his chest with a cool expression on his face. Sakura stood beside him with a smile on her face. When the adult Sasuke saw his past self appear, his eyes immediately focused, and he couldn't help but feel nervous. The interweaving of the future and the present will not cause any confusion in time and space, right? It would be terrible if something unpredictable happened. But until little Sasuke walked up to the group, adult Sasuke still didn't notice any unspeakable horror happening. What's wrong with him? Why hasn't he spoken? Sasuke glanced at his future self and asked Yuzuki in confusion. Yua spread her hands and shook her head. I don't know. Maybe I don't like to talk. Pretend to be an expert in silence. Sasuke stroked his chin, looked at the adult Sasuke thoughtfully, and asked tentatively, Are you worried about causing chaos in time and space? The latter nodded with a deep look in his eyes. Yua suddenly chuckled. It's just a small matter? I thought you were still bothered by the previous incident. If that's what you're worried about, just go for it. Yuzuki patted the adult Sasuke's shoulder with a mysterious smile on his face. To put it in a more mysterious way, one of my divine weapons has suppressed the long river of time. No matter how we mess around in it, the long river of time will not cause the slightest ripple. Whether it is the past, present, or future, everything is under my control. Sigong Yue slowly clasped his palms together, with an unfathomable smile on his face. It started again. Sasuke shook his head and sighed, then turned and left. Sakura covered her mouth with her hands and chuckled, then followed Sasuke's pace. Hey, can't you let me finish pretending before leaving? Yue followed him, cursing. Adult Sasuke recovered from shock. Shinomiya, Yuzuki. He actually possesses such a powerful artifact. No wonder he dares to tamper with the timeline at will. In that case, maybe he also... Adult Sasuke's eyes flickered, then became firm, as if he had made some kind of decision, and followed. The heartland of the Uchiha clan at Sasuke's home. Tea or soda? Sasuke asked as soon as everyone sat down. Either is fine. Adult Sasuke replied. We want soda. Yutsuki and Naruto answered in unison. Sasuke nodded slightly and was about to stand up to get something, but Sakura stood up first. She held Sasuke's shoulders with a bright smile. I'll go get ready. Sasuke, you just stay here and chat with everyone. Well, thank you for your help. Sasuke smiled and gently patted the back of Sakura's hand. Looking at Sakura's receding back, the adult Sasuke was a little stunned. He turned his head and looked at his past self in disbelief. This guy actually managed to make Sakura so obedient. There are means. I have a feeling you're thinking of something rude. Sasuke glanced at his future self. M.O. Adult Sasuke laughed dryly. Okay, let's discuss what to do next. Sasuke shook his head, and his expression became serious. Otsutsuki Urashiki. How are we going to deal with him? Adult Sasuke also put away his smile. This was the purpose of their coming to this time and space. He looked around and said, I have some information about Pooh Sure that I can share with you. It may help improve our chances of winning. But at this time, Yue couldn't help it. He almost thought he had heard it wrong. Wait, are you talking about Otsutsuki Urashiki instead of Otsutsuki Shirbai? Both Sasukes glanced at each other, waiting for him to speak. Yue said with a puzzled look on her face. One Urashiki can be solved with a slap. What are you guys discussing here? Solved with one slap? Sasuke's eyes froze for a moment. Suddenly, he remembered. Yes, he now had the Sage Body plus Mangekyo, and almost unlimited refills of Susanoo. Add to that Naruto, who can unleash the power of Nine Tails at will, and the two of them working together can indeed easily defeat Urashiki. It seems so. Sasuke smiled awkwardly. He was a little too cautious. He was also summoned back from the future by Shinomiya Yutsuki and had experienced a battle with Urashiki. That battle was full of hardships. At that time, he used his strongest grabbing technique, an Uchiha takedown, which even Urashiki could not break, even with his most powerful Otsutsuki elbow strike. After many twists and turns, he finally defeated Otsutsuki Urashiki with great difficulty. Now facing it again, he was so frightened that he actually forgot that his own fighting strength was no longer the same as before. It's been a long time since I had such a rich battle. Sasuke smiled and said with emotion. Roughly speaking, the Uchiha clan alone can produce 4 or 5 masters. Itachi, Fugaku, Shursui, and himself. This does not include the greater combat power on the Konoha side. Urashiki is almost doomed to fail this time. Adult Sasuke hesitated to speak. He really wanted to remind people not to underestimate Otsutsuki Urashiki's power. But looking at the two confident people in front of him, he swallowed back the words that were about to come out of his mouth. It shouldn't be a problem. Everyone, I'm back. Footsteps were heard, and Sakura walked over with a smile on her face, carrying tea and a few bottles of soda. Don't think about it, just drink something first. Yue took a bottle of soda and opened it. Naruto also picked up a can. He curiously leaned over to Boruto and looked at him. This guy had been sleeping the whole time. At this moment, Boruto seemed to sense something, his eyelids trembled, and he slowly opened his eyes. The blue eyes were already filled with Naruto's face. Dad! Looking at the face, so close, Boruto subconsciously exclaimed. Huh? Naruto was confused. Dad? Are you calling me? Boruto stood up suddenly in shock, his eyes unconsciously looking around, wondering why his father was here. Aunt Sakura? Boruto's eyes fell on Sakura, and he couldn't help but call out her name. Just this address made Xiao Yu's brows furrowed. Auntie. Sakura looked at him with a half-smile on her face. Boruto waved his hands again and said with a wry smile, Sorry, it was a slip of the tongue, a slip of the tongue. At this moment, he suddenly realized that he was in the past. Sakura was about the same age as him. How could he call her aunt? Be careful next time. Sakura didn't pursue the matter anymore after seeing him apologize. Boruto hurriedly moved his but closer to the adult Sasuke. Mr. Sasuke, what's going on now? Aren't we still in the cell? Who are they? His eyes moved back and forth between little Sasuke and Yuzuki. Adult Sasuke calmly picked up the teacup and blew away the steam rising from it. It's hard to explain in a few words. You can experience it slowly. At this time, Naruto also slowly walked over and looked at Boruto inquiringly. What did you call me just now? Hee, I didn't say anything. I guess you heard it wrong. Boruto laughed dryly and waved his hands to deny it. Really? Naruto's face was full of doubt. But they all said we have something to do with each other in the future. What? Boruto was stunned for a moment. He turned to look at the adult Sasuke. Mr. Sasuke, did you tell anyone about us? Do I need to say more? They already know it better than us. Adult Sasuke said helplessly. Huh? Adult Sasuke's answer confused Boruto. So, you are my brother? Naruto asked. Everyone stared at Boruto with amusement, wanting to see how he would respond. Boruto blushed, facing Naruto's curious eyes. The names that he used to call him by were now unattainable. Calling someone of the same age as you dad is really embarrassing, even though he does have that status. Dad! But in the end, Boruto gave it his all. After saying this, Boruto suddenly felt relieved and his emotions were released, as if all the psychological pressure was removed. Dad, in the future, you are my dad. Boruto directly confessed the truth that Naruto had always wanted to know. Naruto was struck by a bolt from the blue and was in incredible shock. Dad, what's wrong with you? Boruto saw Naruto's body stiffen, and he reached out and fanned his face in confusion. I'm fine. Naruto came back to his senses and reluctantly accepted this shocking fact. Just being called dad by a person of the same age. It's really weird. Boruto, who is your mother? Naruto suddenly lowered his head and scratched it, his cheeks flushed, and asked in a voice as small as a mosquito's buzz. Mom, of course it's Hinata. Dad, you actually guessed it too. Boruto chuckled, making Naruto feel even more embarrassed. No. The interaction between this father and son across time and space really amused the people around them, and there was laughter all the time. As time went by, through everyone's conversation, Boruto gradually became familiar with the people sitting there and realized how harmonious and beautiful the current ninja world is. He was greatly shocked by the driving force behind all this. Uncle Yue, how on earth did you do all this? Boruto asked with curiosity. What uncle? I'm the same age as you. Yue lowered her eyes and looked down at him, saying dissatisfiedly. Boruto looked up and down at the nearly 1.80-meter tall man with shocked eyes. You call this 12 years old? What did you grow up eating? Boruto couldn't help but mutter. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Boruto pondered for a moment and said again. Then, Brother Yue, that's more like it. Can you tell me how you did all this? Yue smiled calmly. It's very simple. Isn't it just cheating? After saying this, his aura finally stopped being concealed, and he turned 9 times. Okay, everyone, let's go have dinner. Uchiha Mikoto appeared at the door, waving and calling out to everyone with a smile. It also interrupted Yoyue's momentum that was about to be released. Mother, the adult Sasuke's eyes narrowed slightly, looking at the loving figure in front of him, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of longing in his heart. Got it, I'll be right there. Little Sasuke replied with a smile and a nod. Hurry up, we're waiting for you. Mikoto waved with a smile and turned away. Adult Sasuke sighed softly. Although they look exactly alike, she is not her real mother after all. Yue stood up and said with a smile. Now that things have come to this, let's eat first. We can talk about my affairs next time when we have the chance. Everyone agreed and stood up one by one to go to the restaurant. In the brightly lit hall, the huge round dining table was filled with delicious food, steaming and fragrant. Fugaku, Mikoto, Itachi, and Shursui stood aside to welcome the guests, casting gentle glances at them. Please take a seat. As the patriarch of the Uchiha family, Fugaku naturally became the host of the banquet and asked everyone to take a seat with a smile. Everyone took their seats in order. and the adult Sasuke had been staring at Itachi since he entered the room, his eyes never leaving his gaze for even a moment. Perhaps aware of this special attention, Itachi raised his head slightly and gave him a gentle smile in response. Adult Sasuke couldn't help but smile back, then looked away. Has my brother recognized me? Looking at Itachi's meaningful gaze, adult Sasuke couldn't help but feel a little surprised in his palm. Okay, now that everyone is here, let me introduce to you the dishes I have carefully prepared for tonight. Mikoto stood up with a big smile on her face and demonstrated her cooking skills confidently and elegantly. Tomato pork, tomato chicken, tomato scrambled eggs, tomato edamame, tomato rice, tomato fried rice noodles, tomato fried rice noodles, fried rice, fried water, fried eggs. A set of silky, smooth tomato combos immediately won the favor of the two Sasuke's present. When it comes to tomato-based foods, this has always been one of Sasuke's favorites. Gong Yu scratched his chin. I seem to see the shadow of an old friend. That night, the sky was dotted with stars, and the hustle and bustle of Konoha village gradually died down. After dinner, Boruto and Sasuke simply stayed at the Uchiha clan's residence temporarily, as they had nowhere else to go anyway. In order to accompany the adopted son he just adopted today, Naruto did not go home, but went to live in the same room with Boruto. They seemed to have endless topics to talk about, and they were still not satisfied even late into the night. It was not until late at night that the two began to feel sleepy, said good night to each other, and went to sleep. Just then, there was a sudden flash outside the window, and a dark shadow appeared on the balcony. Those dark eyes stared quietly into the room, as if confirming whether the two were asleep. The clouds were floating, and the bright moonlight finally emerged from the clouds, illuminating the figure on the balcony. The person who came was Gong Yu. After making sure that they were both asleep, he slowly walked into the room and went straight to Boruto. My dear great-grandson, it's a rare visit for you, so I must leave you some gifts. Yutsuki rubbed his hands, with a sly smile on his face, and stretched out a finger to gently touch Boruto's brow. Buzz! A strange but gentle force followed Yutsuki's fingers and entered Boruto's spiritual world. A moment later, an angry voice sounded beside Yuyue's ears. What did you do to me, you damned lowly creature? Yuyue's lips curled up slightly, and her figure gradually faded. In Boruto's spiritual world, Yutsuki's figure slowly emerges. TSK, the house I live in isn't even this big. You're really getting a bargain. Yua looked up at the luxurious palace in front of her and exclaimed with a smile. The huge and luxuriously decorated house in front of him was exactly what Yutsuki had just arranged to imprison Otsutsuki Momoshiki in Boruto's spiritual space. At this time, Otsutsuki Momoshiki was trapped inside and could no longer influence Boruto in the slightest. Gong Yu, I order you to leave this house immediately. You should not interfere in the matter between me and this kid. Otsutsuki Momoshiki's cold voice came through the house, full of displeasure. Yue raised her eyebrows and pushed the door open. As soon as he entered the door, a figure appeared in an instant. Before Yue could see who it was, a white fist was already coming towards him. Yue turned her head slightly to avoid the attack, then reached out her hand like lightning and grabbed the attacker's neck. Well, Otsutsuki Momoshiki was immediately shocked. How could he be so powerful? As a strong feeling of suffocation came over him, he struggled involuntarily and slapped the back of Yuyue's hand frantically. However, Yuyue's palm was as hard as an iron clamp and could not be shaken at all. It was not until Otsutsuki Momoshiki's struggle became weaker and weaker, and he seemed about to die, that Yue gently released his palm. I'm just giving you a small lesson. Next time it won't be so easy. Yue clapped her hands, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. But to Momoshiki, this was tantamount to the devil's grin, and he instinctively took 2 steps back. Don't be nervous. Come and sit down. Yue walked to a luxurious sofa and sat down. Seeing that Momoshiki still looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy, Yue couldn't help but chuckle and waved to him. Otsutsuki Momoshiki looked at Yue deeply, and his heart told him that he could not be controlled by this inferior creature. But reality reminded him that if he didn't listen to the other party, the fate that awaited him would probably not be good. He took a deep breath, took a step forward, and sat down on the sofa opposite Yue. That's right. Actually, I'm a very easygoing person. Yue smiled with satisfaction. Momoshiki remained silent. Although he was inside Boruto's body, his perception of the outside world was not affected. He had seen everything Boruto had done recently, even Yuzuki's previous remarks. He was deeply shocked when he saw that Gong Yuzuki made major changes to the timeline without incurring time and space sanctions. What shocked him even more was that Shinomiya Yutsuki actually accurately said the name of the god of the Otsutsuki clan, Otsutsuki Shibai. At that moment, Momoshiki initially deduced that Shinomiya Yuzuki might be a deified being like Otsutsuki Shibai, possessing the power of omniscience and omnipotence. But when he later learned that all this was due to a sacred artifact, Momoshiki's opinion of him immediately changed. It turns out that he is only relying on external things, and perhaps he is still an insignificant human being. In an instant, the mysterious god who was originally unfathomable in his eyes was reduced to an inferior creature. But now, Momoshiki changed his mind again and found that Shinomiya Yuzuki could actually interfere with his digital self. He even created a house in his spiritual world to isolate himself from the influence of the outside world. This kind of ability is definitely not something that ordinary humans can possess. You know, once the wedge is engraved, even people of the same race will find it difficult to interfere with it. Regardless of whether Shinomiya Yutsuki really became a god, Momoshiki was obviously unable to fight back in front of him. After a long silence, Momoshiki finally raised his head after realizing the truth. What do you want? Finally, you're willing to speak. I thought you would be stubborn to the end. As expected, even a noble young man like the Otsutsuki clan would feel fear in the face of death. Yue crossed her feet, a mocking look flashing across her face. Momoshiki clenched his fists unconsciously. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words with difficulty. So what exactly are you going to do? If you just want to humiliate me, can you please leave? Seeing that Momoshiki seemed really angry, Yue smiled and soothed him. Okay, it's just a joke. As soon as he finished speaking, his expression suddenly became serious. My purpose is actually very simple. I want you to assist Boruto wholeheartedly until he grows up completely. During this process, you are not allowed to covet his body, and you must do your best when he is in danger. And for now on, you can only stay in this room. Your power can only be extended with Boruto's consent. Each harsh condition was listed one by one, causing Otsutsuki Momoshiki's handsome face to frown. He could no longer bear it and said sternly, Gong Yue, don't go too far. What's the difference between you asking for this and asking me to kill that beast Nine Tails? He gave power when he was asked to, and saved people when he was asked to. He is the noble Otsutsuki Momoshiki. How can I be driven by these lowly creatures? If this really happened, he would rather die. Hearing this, Yue's eyes widened. What's wrong with Nine Tails? Do you look down on Nine Tails? Do you know Kurama's position in Naruto's family? He is second only to Minato and Kushina, and even higher than Hinata. Kurama only needs to say one word, and Boruto will immediately go and cook 2 dishes for Uncle Nine. And Otsutsuki Momoshiki still looked at him coldly, with a look of being determined to die rather than surrender. Yue smiled and continued. Okay, now that we have discussed these conditions, let's talk about the compensation. Just kill me now, Momoshiki said disdainfully. Yue smiled slightly and raised a finger. A chakra fruit. Momoshiki was startled. A chakra fruit. Did he hear it right? After eating just 1 pill, he mastered the powerful magic of Gaelwanken Lingzuan. However, the limitations of this magic are also very prominent. It can only absorb ninjutsu, but cannot resist physical magic. If I get another one, it can make up for the shortcomings in physical skills. By then, he himself didn't dare to imagine how powerful he would be. Seeing that Momoshiki remained silent, Yue mistakenly thought that the chips were not enough and immediately stretched out the other 4 fingers. 5 chakra fruits. 5. Before Momoshiki could react, he was once again stunned by an even greater shock. This many chakra fruits are enough to gain quasi-demigod level power after swallowing them all. Yue frowned slightly, but her heart was still not shaken. As expected of a descendant of the distinguished Otsutsuki clan, he is indeed calm and steady. If it were Kagaya, upon learning that she could obtain 5 chakra fruits, she would probably be excited and use water style immediately. Don't be greedy, Xiaotao. 10 is the limit. Shigong Yue sighed lightly. This was his last chance to increase his bet. 10. At this moment, Momoshiki was at a loss for words. Instinctively, I almost nodded in agreement. Peach Llama is Peach Llama. It doesn't matter if you accept it. However, just as he was about to compromise, a clear understanding once again took control of his mind. Etc. What's wrong? Otsutsuki Momoshiki suddenly looked at Shinomiya Yuzuki with disgust. Do you think I'm a fool like Urashiki? How can you have so many chakra fruits in your hand? Are you trying to deceive me with the lies of a mere human being? Their clan went through countless years before obtaining only a few fruits. The person in front of me can give 10 at random. Isn't he treating me like a fool? Yue just smiled faintly without making any excuses. She flicked her fingers lightly, and a golden light penetrated into Momoshiki's brows. Momoshiki looked calm and cold as he asked, "Are you so angry after your lies were exposed that you're ready to kill me?" The Otsutsuki clan will never be slaves. As soon as he finished speaking, he was stunned. A picture emerged in my mind. In the vast starry sky, a figure was moving quickly, crossing tens of thousands of kilometers in an instant. Soon after, the shadow descended upon a world surrounded by a vast ocean. He appeared on the few remaining lands and summoned the gigantic 10-tails monster. Then, one person was thrown out mercilessly. Ishiki. Momoshiki's pupils suddenly shrank, and he recognized this person of the same clan. The other party is Kagaya's partner, but there has been no news since arriving in the ninja world. Has he been captured? Yoshiki's power is extremely strong. Now it is held in the palm of the hand like a young bird. You can imagine the power of the manipulator. Then, the man took out a puppet-like doll and asked Ishiki to burn a wedge on it as a preparatory measure for resurrection, and then dedicated Ishiki to 10 tails. He's planting a sacred tree. Seeing this familiar process, Momoshiki was immediately shocked. In the universe, besides their Otsutsuki clan, there is actually someone who can plant this sacred tree. The figure seemed to be able to control the power of time. The scene was exaggerated as if it was played at an accelerated speed. The sacred tree grew from seed to full maturity in just 1 minute. Afterwards, the planet gradually dried up, and the mysterious figure left with the chakra fruit and continued on the journey to find the next planet. The scene ended, and Momoshiki was unable to come back to his senses for a long time, until Yutsuki's voice sounded beside him. That man is Uchiha Obito, one of my companions. Now do you believe that I can produce 10 chakra fruits? Yue had a faint smile on her face. Momoshiki looked at him deeply and nodded slowly. The whole process, from sowing to harvesting, took less than 10 minutes for the man named Uchiha Obito. 1 chakra fruit every 10 minutes. This efficiency is truly astonishing. Perhaps while they were talking, the man had already harvested another fruit. To them, 10 fruits did not seem to be a large number. How about you reconsider it? The price remains the same and won't change. Yue smiled lightly and persuaded in a gentle tone. Momoshiki felt his hands trembling. If he swallowed these 10 chakra fruits and returned to the Otsutsuki clan, he would be able to ascend to the top almost overnight and immediately be promoted to a member of the upper echelons, from an ordinary noble to a member of the ruling family. Thinking of this, Tashiki took a deep breath, looked at Yue solemnly, and nodded heavily. I accept your terms. He didn't want to do this, but Shigong Yue gave him too much. Human life is no more than 100 years at most, but for him, it is just a blink of an eye. Be patient for 100 years. I can endure it. A wise choice. Yuyuan nodded with satisfaction. Boruto's growth is very rapid. It won't take too long. Taashiki nodded, but he suddenly remembered something and asked nervously. After the conditions are met, you will keep your promise, right, Shinomiya Yuzuki? Yeah, I'm not greedy for your 10 chakra fruits, don't worry. Even though he doesn't have any fruit at the moment, it doesn't stop him from acting like he's rich. That's good. All right, the contract has been concluded. Anyone who breaks his promise will be punished by being eaten by the rock. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. Yue stood up, waved, and turned to leave. However, when he reached the door, he suddenly turned around and said with interest, "By the way, I almost forgot to tell you, there are a few clothes in the closet that I think Boruto might like. If you put these clothes on and touch him, he'll grow faster." After saying this, Yoyue's figure gradually disappeared into the air and completely left the spiritual space. Clothing. Mamashiki walked into the room curiously and found the clothes that Yue mentioned. When he opened it, he saw some strange clothes inside. Mamashiki frowned and picked up one of them. Will wearing this make Boruto grow faster? He looked left and right, but couldn't figure out what was going on. Perhaps this is what makes humans different. The sun was shining. Boruto stretched and sat up in bed. Dad hasn't woken up yet. Seeing that Naruto was still sleeping soundly next to him, Boruto planned to get out of bed quietly and wash up. Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Boy, come in." "Huh, it's that guy." Boruto immediately became alert. Otsutsuki Peach style. What does he want to do? Don't waste time, come in. I'll show you something. Otsutsuki Mamashiki urged. Come on. Uncle Yue is right next door. If you dare play any tricks, I will tell him. Boruto strides into the mental space. The scene in front of me changed, and what appeared before my eyes was a warm and spacious house. Where is this? Boruto asked confusedly. What is this for? Is this still the spiritual world? Boruto. Suddenly, Mamashiki's figure appeared behind him. Boruto immediately turned his head alertly. What do you want to do? I'll go. How is it? Have you grown up? Mamashiki, who had changed into a new outfit, asked impatiently. Boruto wiped the blood from his nose and nodded subconsciously. Grown up. Tao Shirji's expression brightened up. It really works. Humans are indeed a strange race. The rustling sound reached Naruto's ears, gradually waking him up from his sleep. He opened his hazy eyes and found that the voice came from Boruto next to him. Turning his head, he saw Boruto with his back to him, fiddling with something while pulling out tissues. Boruto, what are you doing? Naruto asked curiously. Hearing Naruto's voice, he turned to face Naruto. The latter then discovered that Boruto was wiping his nosebleed, which kept flowing and needed to be wiped away with tissues. You are. Boruto calmly twisted the tissue into a long strip and stuffed it into his nostrils. It's nothing serious. I just got a sore throat. I'm very angry now. Is it because of our dinner last night? But didn't we eat tomatoes? Vegetables don't have a lot of calories. Thinking of the sumptuous tomato dinner last night, Naruto couldn't help but reminisce about it, and secretly decided to come and eat there more often in the future. That's not the reason. Don't worry, Dad. It's really okay. Boruto smiled gently and comforted him without further explanation. Naruto nodded, didn't ask any more questions, and got up to wash up. After Naruto's figure disappeared, Boruto hurriedly called out Otsutsuki Mamashiki in his heart. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Why are you wearing such strange clothes? Where do they come from? When Boruto thought of Mamashiki's strange clothes, his nose became hot again and blood flowed out again. This trick is even more powerful than the seduction technique, this guy. I didn't expect that Mamashiki, who usually looks aloof, reserved, and arrogant, is so flamboyant in private. What is this called? Oh, right, reserved and shy. You don't need to know too many details. It won't harm you. Mamashiki's calm voice sounded in his mind. All right, then let me take another look. After saying that, Boruto chuckled. Then his body fell back on the bed uncontrollably, and his spirit was taken into another world. After a moment, Boruto's body opened his eyes again and trembled slightly. This unprecedented experience made him seem to understand certain truths in an instant. Although Boruto is unclear about Momoshiki's specific purpose, it is obvious that all of this is for a purpose. Momoshiki still treated him with the same contempt as always. However, it is this kind of superior temperament, coupled with his contemptuous look as if he is looking at garbage. It's really addictive. Just then, Naruto's voice interrupted his thoughts. Come on, wash up quickly, I'll take you out to play. He came out of the bathroom and said to Boruto with a smile. Okay. Boruto responded excitedly, putting Momoshiki's matter aside for the moment. Following Naruto to see those Konoha seniors from his childhood made him even more excited. Of course, you have to fill your stomach before going out for fun. The two headed straight for their favorite Ichiraku ramen restaurant. You too. Shouto was stunned for a moment when he saw Naruto and Boruto coming in together. What's wrong, hand-beating uncle? The strange look in his eyes aroused Naruto's curiosity. Nothing. Still the same as before. He put aside his doubts and greeted warmly. He sighed inwardly, thinking that Naruto was indeed his real self. His strong charisma could even make the brothers who were fighting with him for the family property follow him willingly. Boruto looked at the hand type in confusion and always felt that something was wrong with the hand type uncle today. But when the fragrant ramen was served, Boruto immediately put aside all his doubts and enjoyed this delicious meal wholeheartedly. After a hearty meal, the two satisfied people said hello to the owner and left. Dad, where are we going next? Naruto thought for a moment and suggested, how about going to the Hyuga clan first? Hyuga Hayashi actually already knew the story between Naruto and Hinata, but at that time Naruto was just a fox demon who was hated by everyone and had no power or influence. Naturally, he couldn't allow Hinata to have too much contact with such a being. But the situation is completely different now. The fourth Hokage that Konoha is eagerly waiting for is his father. He is not only a friend of Uchiha Sasuke, the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, the largest family in Konoha. He is also like a brother to Shinomiya Yuzuki, the strongest man in the ninja world. His own strength is so strong that it is astonishing. Hyuga Hayashi naturally would not go to trouble himself and continue to hinder them at this time. Instead, he would warmly entertain and be attentive every time Naruto came to visit. Although it may seem like currying favor with the powerful, this is the reality. When a person is strong enough, the world around him will become much friendlier. Going to Grandpa's house? Let's go. Boruto's eyes lit up when he heard this. Maybe he can see the real Uncle Neji this time. Since he was a child, his mother often praised the heroic Uncle Neji, which made him full of infinite curiosity and longing for this elder whom he had never met. But at this moment, Naruto suddenly grabbed Boruto and whispered awkwardly, Wait, Boruto, try not to tell anyone about the fact that you came back from the future. Especially don't call me dad in public. Even though it's true, it's really weird for others to hear it. The thought of Boruto blurting out mom when he's about to meet Hinata is simply unimaginable. Okay. Boruto touched his head and seemed to understand the reason. Then let's go. Seeing that Boruto agreed to his request, Naruto was relieved. So, the father and son walked towards the Hyuga clan with ease. The Hyuga branch house member guarding the door of the Hyuga mansion saw the familiar faces and immediately opened the door for the two without saying anything and bowed respectfully to welcome the guests. Welcome, Naruto-sama. Then he quickly opened the heavy door. Naruto smiled and nodded slightly in response to this courtesy. At first he was surprised by such a grand welcome, but now he has become accustomed to it. The father and son slowly walked into the courtyard, and just as they passed through the flowers, they found a small figure waiting for them. Hyuga Hinata. Good afternoon, Naruto-kun. Hinata said gently. At almost the same time, Mom, Hinata. Two voices rang out one after another. The air was silent for a few seconds. Hey, I just reminded you to be careful with how you talk. Naruto felt a little scalp tingling and pulled Boruto beside him and whispered madly. Sorry, it's inevitable that I'm a little excited when I see my mother from childhood for the first time. Boruto scratched his head and smiled. Naruto-kun, who is this? Hinata slowly approached and looked at Boruto with curiosity. "Oh, this is my distant cousin, right, cousin?" Naruto put his arm around Boruto's shoulders and secretly gave him a few hints with his eyes. "Ah, yes, yes. My name is Uzumaki Boruto. Please give me your guidance." After receiving the hint, Boruto quickly took over and accepted the new character setting. "Nice to meet you. Please take care of me. I'm Hyuga Hinata." After speaking, Hinata bowed slightly, her every move showing the demeanor of a lady from a noble family. "Haha, this isn't a good place to chat. Let's go inside and talk first." Seeing that the other party had no doubts for the time being, Naruto was secretly happy, but on the surface he pretended to be indifferent and invited him to go inside. In this way, the three of them walked into the depths of the house together. Passing by the training ground, a man and a woman who were fighting in a competition caught Boruto's attention. "Hey, Sister Hanabi and Uncle Niji. Finally, I saw the real person." Feeling the change in the aura of a strange aura approaching, Niji, who was in training, suddenly turned his head and looked over. At that moment, a faint green light flashed in his pure and clear eyes. In an instant, Boruto only felt that the sky was dark, and there was an invisible force pressing down on him. However, the next moment, Boruto's right eye turned light blue, like an anchor stabilizing the waves on a calm sea. Clear eyes. The terrible pressure disappeared without a trace in an instant. "That guy noticed me." Before Boruto could fully react, a surprised and shocked sound rang out in his mind. Otsutsuki Momoshiki was surprised and said, "He didn't use the Byakugan. This kind of pupil technique should be more advanced than the Byakugan." He expressed great confusion and bewilderment about this. Uncle Niji is so powerful. Boruto was still in shock from what he had just experienced and couldn't recover for a long time. "I thought the other party was going to take action." After calming down, Momoshiki's words moved him again. "Thinking of the fact that future Niji has already fallen, my heart can't help but be overwhelmed with emotions. How did such a great man fall? This ninja world is truly filled with countless heroes." Noticing that Boruto had stopped, Naruto asked with concern, "Boruto, what happened?" "Nothing." The latter responded with a forced smile. No one except the parties involved noticed the subtle confrontation that just happened. Fortunately, Niji didn't do anything special. He just took a quick glance and continued with his practice project. From then on, Boruto became active in various occasions as a distant relative and made many friends. But in private, the way I address Naruto remains unchanged. You call me brother, and I call you dad. We just talk about our own things. Until a few days later, the weather was nice and sunny again. And somewhere high in the sky, above Konoha, the space was constantly fluctuating, and then a black vortex appeared. Otsutsuki Urashiki's figure gradually became clear, but his expression was not very good. His brows were furrowed, and he was obviously very upset. The plow was also taken away, and I don't know whether its positioning function will be affected. He pondered and said, "It will be best to find out the current specific date first." As he said this, he activated his unique ability, the white eyes. "Turn your gaze to the top of the Hokage building, the landmark building in the center of the village, and take a closer look. Since you dare to venture across the boundaries of time and space, you must be familiar with the history of the target location." He only needs to take a look at who the current Hokage is to know what time it is. Namake's Minato. When he saw the person behind the Hokage's desk, Urashiki was stunned for a moment, but then a smile broke out on his face. Since Otsutsuki Urashiki had already made up his mind to seize Nine Tails, the night of the Nine Tails Rebellion was naturally the best opportunity, and he was planning to do so. So he prepared to travel through time and space and take action at that time. Unfortunately, he was interrupted by Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Boruto during the transmission, and the plow was taken away. He thought he would be teleported to a later time, but he did not expect to be teleported to the target time exactly. God is helping me. Namake's Minato is still alive, which means the Nine Tails Rebellion has not happened yet, and he has enough time to make plans. Yomi Hirasaka activates. Otsutsuki Urashiki prepares to leave. But at this moment, He unexpectedly sensed the presence of nine tails, and they were not within the heavily protected Konoha. Instead, it appeared vaguely somewhere outside Konoha village. Pooh was slightly startled. Then his expression became excited. Nine tails, Aura. He quickly turned his head and looked in one direction, his eyes moving slightly. Nine tails Jinchuriki actually appeared outside of Konoha. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It looks like there's no need to wait until the Nine Tails Rebellion. When did my luck become so good? Amidst hearty laughter, Urashiki's figure disappeared into the space passage opened by Yomi Hirasaka. A beautiful place with mountains and rivers outside Konoha. A large group of people are busy here. They're preparing for camping and picnic. All the 12 guardians of Konoha are present, along with Uzumaki Baruto and Shinomiya Yuzuki. Baruto, come help. Here we go. Baruto heard the call, wiped his hands immediately, and ran over. What's wrong, Sister Tian? Tian handed him a long nail with a smile. You boys are strong. Help me hammer this tent nail into the ground, and I will build the tent. Baruto took the nail and said confidently, No problem, leave it to me. As he spoke, Baruto picked up a hammer and hammered the tent pegs into the ground one by one. Ding, ding, ding. Amid the rhythmic sound of tapping, everyone's preparations gradually came to an end. They gathered together around a large grill, ready to start cooking today's lunch. Uzumaki Naruto. At this moment, a puzzled voice came from the air, attracting everyone's attention. Naruto, who is this guy? Why does he look like he's here to accuse someone of something? Also, let my father go to jail? Do you know who he is? The fourth Hokage of Konoha, the most powerful person in the entire Konoha. And you let him go to jail? Who in the hall is suing me? And given my dad's personality, there's no way he would do something illegal. Hello, who are you? Naruto looked at Urashiki with a gloomy face and dissatisfaction. He thought that this man was ruining the reputation of Minato Namikaze. Naruto, he is Otsutsuki Urashiki. Sasuke reminded from the side, and while speaking, he also took the time to turn over the barbecue in front of him, looking relaxed and contented. Huh? He is that Urashiki? Naruto was slightly surprised. Sasuke had been so cautious when talking about it before. I thought he was a monster with a green face and fangs, but he turned out to be just an ordinary person. Hey, Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, or I won't let you go easily. Naruto put his hands on his hips, a hint of anger on his face. Otsutsuki waved his hand impatiently. Stop. I don't care what weird habits you humans have. I'm not interested in them. You can make as much noise as you want. It has nothing to do with me. But now, Otsutsuki Urashiki sneered. The red fishing rod in his hand was thrown out suddenly, and the fishhook on the top flew out like a cannonball and instantly arrived in front of Naruto. Nine Tails Chakra, give it to me. But the next moment, Pooh's smile froze on his face. You can't win the argument, but you still want to attack me? Naruto frowned as a golden chakra arm extended from his body and firmly grasped Urashiki's fishing line, the hook stopping in front of him. The power of Nine Tails. How could you? Urashiki was shocked. How could Naruto at this stage use the power of Nine Tails? Without giving it any time to think, Naruto instantly entered the fairy fox mode, and in the dazzling golden light, a majestic aura burst out. In a split second, even with the superb eyesight of the Rinnegan and the Byakugan, one could only catch a flash of golden light. In just a moment, Naruto appeared behind Urashiki and grabbed the back of Urashiki's neck. Then, a huge fox head appeared and swallowed Urashiki. Boom! Go back in time. At the critical moment, Urashiki hurriedly switched his eyes, and the white eyes in his eye sockets immediately turned into a pair of blue reincarnation eyes. Time goes back. Everything was going backwards. The fox head disappeared. Naruto returned to his original position, and the fairy fox mode was also released. Time was turned back to the seconds before Urashiki was attacked. Hey, Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, or I won't let you go easily. Naruto's angry voice was heard again from the front, But Urashiki seemed to have no intention of paying attention. The whole person was immersed in the scene just now, and his eyes were full of shock that could not be concealed. How can he use the power of Nine Tails so well? He had studied the historical records of Konoha archives in depth, especially the part about Uzumaki Naruto, and remembered it by heart. The 12-year-old Naruto does not have the ability to use the power of Nine Tails at all, and may even be affected by Nine Tails and easily go out of control. But now, what is going on? Damn it. How dare those despicable humans forge this? Pusher gritted his teeth and said that what he saw was probably just false information recorded casually by those people. What is happening now is the real history. Why don't you speak? Naruto's puzzled voice sounded again. Urashiki came to his senses, looked up fiercely, and thought to himself that it might not be a wise choice to directly attack Uzumaki Naruto. After all, directly confronting him has little chance of success, and this is definitely not a good idea. However, obtaining the Nine-Tailed Chakra is the most urgent task. How can he give up so easily? Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Uzumaki Naruto values his friends very much. If I can capture a hostage to threaten him. A sly smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This seemed to be the best strategy. As soon as he finished speaking, Urashiki's eyes searched the crowd behind Naruto, looking for a suitable target. Inadvertently, his eyes fell on a fat man who was still enjoying his food, even in the tense atmosphere. This guy is definitely a pushover, so let's pick him. Otsutsuki adjusted his aim, and then he threw out the red light hook, which flew out with the force of thunder. Can everyone react as quickly as Uzumaki Naruto? Just being hooked by a fishhook once is enough. At this moment, Akimichi Choji was happily enjoying the skewers in his hand, when suddenly a gust of wind came, knocking his delicious food off the table and piercing his body. Choji was stunned. Looking at the skewers that fell to the ground and were covered with dust, an extremely sad look appeared on his face. Then, the whole person was instantly pulled towards Pusher's position. Otsutsuki Urashiki successfully reeled in the rod, and at this moment Choji, who was tightly bound by the fishing line, had been dragged to his feet. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Urashiki smiled a winner. Uzumaki Naruto, if you don't want your companion to get hurt, you'd better hand over Nine Tails. I'll only give you 1 minute to think about it. Otherwise, don't blame me for being cruel. However, before he could finish his words, the scenery around him suddenly and rapidly rose up, and Uzumaki Naruto's figure became smaller and smaller in his eyes until it became a small black. What's going on? I turned my head in astonishment and found that I was rising rapidly, even touching the clouds, and could feel the fluctuations of the clouds under my feet. A loud bell-like sound shook the heaven and earth. You actually ruined my delicious food. How abominable. The huge noise made Pusher dizzy. He quickly covered his ears and looked towards the source of the sound. The scene before him shocked him instantly. In front of him was still the seemingly harmless little fat boy Akimichi Choji, but now his body had swelled to an unimaginable size. With the sky above his head and the earth under his feet, his standing posture has reached above the clouds, and his entire body is almost invisible at a glance. It is an existence beyond imagination. Law of heaven and earth. When he turned his head again and used his Byakugan to observe the surrounding environment, he could vaguely see several pillars standing in the distance. At this moment, Pusher couldn't help but have an absurd idea in his mind. Am I in his hands now? Soon after, his guess was proved by the facts. 5 huge pillars collapsed and suddenly pressed down like covering the sky and the sun. Is this still the world of ninja? Otsutsuki murmured to himself, almost confused. Go back in time. As the words fell, the unique time-space twisting power of the samsara I was activated again, and the scene went backwards again. Hey, Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, or I won't let you go easily. The familiar words sounded again, and Urashiki looked up at Naruto with an expressionless face. I already knew that time travel was full of unknowns and dangers, and I didn't know which twisted ninja world I was in now. It seems that this trip will not be easy. But no matter how difficult it is, I must get 9 tails. Urashiki ignored Naruto and glanced at Akimichi Choji, locking his sights on a bowl-cut guy wearing green tights. This one looks silly and is obviously a pushover. It's decided to be you. Rock Lee. Otsutsuki laughs wildly and throws out the fishing rod. Rock Lee, who was chopping wood, suddenly seemed to sense something. He dodged, and at the critical moment, the fishhook brushed past his chest. Someone's attacking. Rock Lee immediately focused his attention and locked his gaze on Pooh Shiur, who had a look of astonishment on his face. How could a silly boy with a pot-cut haircut dodge my attack? Even Uchiha Sasuke had been hit by this move of his, and his chakra was taken away by him, leaving only 1/10 of his strength. Is it because I am slow? While he was thinking, a figure emitting green light all over his body rushed over like a meteorite. 8 gates, gate of view. Open. The sky was filled with fist shadows like a torrential rain, making people feel suffocated. But for Pooh Shiur, this did not catch him off guard. He moved left and right with agility, and none of Rock Lee's attacks hit him. Rock Lee was not discouraged at all. Instead, he felt his blood boiling. He shouted loudly, "Shun Feng." The next moment, Pooh Shiur lost sight of Rock Lee and immediately turned on his Byakugan, looking 360 degrees for the other person's figure. Behind me, as Pooh Shiur turned around in astonishment, Rock Lee kicked him hard in the back, sending him flying high. Boom! Countless bandages scattered around, and Rock Lee's figure turned into an afterimage and circled around Pooh Shiur. The bandages wrapped around Pooh Shiur frantically, binding him tightly into an airtight mummy. Gate of Wonder. Rock Lee's speed increased again, and he came above Pooh Shiur's head. Daytime Tiger. Roar, roar, roar. The violent energy behemoth formed by compressed air roared and dived towards Urashiki. He opened his bloody mouth and swallowed Pooh Shiur inside. Go back in time. Hey, that Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, otherwise I won't let you go easily. Pooh Shiur remained silent. His gaze swept across the 12 young warriors of Konoha behind Naruto, and a hint of madness flashed in his eyes. The last one. Things never happen more than 3 times. It's impossible for people to be unlucky all the time, right? This time, Otsutsuki Urashiki seemed to be prepared and locked his sights directly on Hyuga. Forget about the rest, he's just a scapegoat. As the only one of the 12 young warriors of Konoha who died in battle, Urashiki believed that this person would definitely not be too powerful. Otherwise, how did he die? The red fishing rod was cast out for the last time, carrying all of Urashiki's high hopes, and flew towards Hyuga. Is the target me? Niji's gaze focused, and his pure and clear eyes instantly turned into a pair of blue eyes emitting terrifying pressure. Samsarangi. Niji floated up, suddenly bursting out with dazzling blue light, and entered the Samsara I-Chakra mode. The legendary truth-seeking ball looms behind him. When he waved his hand, and a truth-seeking ball appeared in front of him and blocked the attacking red light fishhook. Come over. Niji reached out and grabbed the fishing line and pulled it hard. Otsutsuki Urashiki in the distance was actually pulled towards him. Niji raised his hand slightly, and several truth-seeking balls attached to his arm. Suddenly, a huge storm gradually formed. Silver Wheel Reincarnation explodes. Whoosh whoosh. A violent gale swept across the sky and earth. As the main target of attack, Urashiki faced the storm directly and was blown away in an instant. Boom! He hit the ground hard, and the ground cracked, leaving a huge hole. Otsutsuki Urashiki lay quietly in the pit, his eyes dull. What is this? He muttered absent-mindedly. However, everything is not over yet. Hyuga Ningtsi slowly floats up into the sky, and terrifying energy fluctuations come from his body. Suddenly, a golden light flashed across the sky, and then it became more and more intense. It was as if a second sun appeared in the world. Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. Hyuga Ningtsi looked calm and gently waved his arm. In an instant, The world was left with only a dazzling golden light. Time goes back. Hey, Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, or I won't let you go easily. Urashiki attacked without hesitation, aiming directly at Shinomiya Yuzuki. Okay, you guys are awesome. Then, this ordinary person whom he had never seen before and who was not even recorded in the files of Konoha Village should be fine, right? Oh, you didn't run away but attacked me instead. Having just finished watching an exciting drama and feeling that it was not satisfying enough, Sigong Yue suddenly had a playful smile on his face. Pusher's ability to go back in time naturally had no effect on him, and he watched several overwhelming battles in their entirety. I thought the other party would learn a lesson this time, but I didn't expect. Then I'll play with you for a bit. With a casual wave of his hand, a transparent, pure, white light wheel condensed in Yoyue's hand. 8 wheels! Shurgong Yoyue's body was as fast as lightning, quickly approaching along Urashiki's fishing line, and in an instant he was in front of him. Even you are not an ordinary person. Witnessing the speed displayed by Shinomiya Yutsuki, Urashiki's heart was almost numb. It would be fine if it was someone else, but how come even this completely stranger has such strength? Seeing that the opponent's weapon was about to swing down, Pusher subconsciously raised the fishing rod in his hand to block it. However, with just one strike, the sturdy fishing rod broke into 2 pieces. What kind of attack is this? Otsutsuki Urashiki was shocked. How could he cut his fishing rod so easily? Seeing that the bright halo was about to strike him, Urashiki, knowing that he could not fight back head-on, immediately used his pupil technique. Go back in time. Yue raised her eyebrows slightly. Can't hold on so soon. This hasn't even entered the warm-up phase. But he still cooperated and returned to his original position, as if he was affected by the reversal of time. Hey, Otsutsuki Urashiki, you must apologize for what you just said, or I won't let you go easily. Sorry. Urashiki bowed without hesitation. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Please forgive me. Obeyed. After this observation, it seemed that the only thing he could beat was the oven. Now, it was Naruto's turn to be stunned. Is this Otsutsuki Urashiki so easy to talk to? He couldn't help but look at the other person with suspicion. Do you really realize your mistake? Yes. Otsutsuki Urashiki nodded sincerely. There was no distracting thoughts in his eyes, which made them look exceptionally pure. Well, since you've already apologized, let's just forget about it. Naruto hesitated for a moment, and finally chose to forgive the other party. Due to the time reversal, Naruto did not see the many beatings that Otsutsuki Urashiki had suffered before. In his impression, he just scolded the other party a few words, and the other party apologized readily. In this case, Naruto couldn't continue to be angry. He couldn't just go up and beat him up, right? Then I won't bother you anymore. I'll leave first. Pusher bowed gracefully, gave a warm smile, then turned around and prepared to open the space channel to leave. He walked slowly, step by step, towards the space passage, fearing that Naruto would discover his uneasiness too quickly. 1 step, 2 steps, getting closer as long as we can reach that place. Just as one foot was about to step into the space channel, a look of joy appeared on Pusher's face. Finally escaped. He never wanted to return to this place again, and would rather go back to the original timeline to face the adult Naruto. However, at this moment, the thing that Pusher was most reluctant to face happened. Etc. A voice made him stop, and in an instant, Pusher was sweating profusely. He paused, not daring to disobey, and slowly turned around, forcing a smile. What happened? Shurgong Yue leaned against a tree, folded his arms, and had a playful smile on his face. Confucius said, if a friend comes from afar, whip him dozens of times and drive him to another courtyard. Oh no, that's what Lu Xiaoyu said. It should be very enjoyable. Yue smiled slightly, pointed at the oven in front of her, and said, since you have come from afar, it is fate that we meet. Why don't you sit down and have something to eat? That way we can show our hospitality. Naruto and Sasuke turned their heads in confusion, not understanding what Yue was up to. But from Yoyue's smirking eyes, One could tell that he definitely had a lot of bad ideas in mind. That's not necessary. We, the Otsutsuki clan, don't need to eat. Urashiki laughed dryly and waved his hand to refuse. Yua narrowed her eyes slightly. A hint of danger flashed in her eyes, and she said with a half-smile, "Just come over if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Are you already missing someone before the Mid-Autumn Festival?" "I don't want to. I don't want to." Pusher felt the vague, murderous aura and quickly gave up all his fantasies. He walked to the oven and sat down obediently, looking submissive. Everyone in the field cast curious glances at this strange guy who had just said something slanderous about the fourth Hokage and then suddenly apologized. "Wouldn't it have been better if you did this earlier?" Yua walked over slowly. "Don't be too formal. We are all very easygoing people." Pusher curled his lips. "Easygoing? It's so random." Yua sat down next to Pusher, hugged his shoulders enthusiastically, and said with a playful smile, "I heard that you have a lot of connections outside. Let's cooperate. We can make money together." Otsutsuki Urashiki's expression changed slightly. "How did you know?" "Xiao Tao told me," Yua said with a smile. "Xiao Tao? Who is that?" "It's me." Otsutsuki Momoshike's voice came from Boruto's body, and then an illusory figure slowly emerged from behind Boruto and gradually became clear. It was none other than Otsutsuki Momoshike. He had now changed into his usual noble and dignified attire, a demeanor unique to the Otsutsuki nobility that was far beyond the reach of characters like Urashiki. "Oh, it's you, senior." Otsutsuki Urashiki was slightly surprised at first, and then responded with a slightly sarcastic tone. "I originally thought that you would hate humans after your defeat, but I didn't expect you to choose to cooperate with them. To be precise, it is a mutually beneficial relationship." Momoshiki's face remained cold, and he corrected his statement without hesitation. "It's all the same, don't take it so seriously." Urashiki shrugged, looking nonchalant. Okay, stop being so confrontational. After all, we'll be a family soon." Yua intervened at the right time, trying to ease the tension between the two. "Family? What a joke." Upon hearing these words, no matter how subtle, it was hard to hide the flash of disgust in Pusher's eyes. If the situation had not forced him, he would not have been willing to sit down and communicate with these so-called humans. As if sensing Pusher's innermost thoughts, Yu gave a sly smile. "So, you want to be my enemy?" He stretched out his hand and gently placed it on Pusher's shoulder. At that moment, Urashiki was shocked. The chakra in his body seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Even his Rinnegan and Byakugan could not sense it. All his ice skills were lost. In the blink of an eye, the amazing strength that came with being a member of Otsutsuki was ruthlessly taken away. "You?" Full of horror, Urashiki suddenly turned his head to look at Yue, the fear in his eyes unable to hide. Yu just chuckled. "My friend, you know my method's best." He held up a finger. "I'll give you one more chance to reword your words." At this time, Momoshiki spoke up to break the deadlock. "Listen to my advice. Don't forget that our clan is not invincible in this vast universe. If we take the wrong path, the consequences will be very serious, which is definitely the kind of result you don't want to see." He looked at Momoshiki deeply. "All right." After a long while, Pusher let out a long sigh, and then nodded to indicate his agreement. "I know the exact locations of several special passages, but using them is extremely dangerous." Seeing this, Yu's expression suddenly relaxed a lot, and he said excitedly, "Leave it to us how to use it. Just tell me where it is." Those guys have a way to make the sacred tree grow rapidly, and their efficiency is far beyond the limit of what we can achieve on our own. Momoshiki further explained, "It only takes about 10 minutes to complete the entire growth cycle. The only tricky part is that the distance between stars is too great. 10 minutes per night." "Really?" Pusher's eyes widened, unable to express the shock in words. At this point, he also understood why Yue attached so much importance to space teleportation. It was obviously not feasible to cross the vast galaxy just by moving at high speed, and it was necessary to rely on specific space jump technology. Mamashiki and Kinshiki originally passed through a passage built by Ishiki and Kagaya. As for Pushur, he entered this place from another unknown entrance, which means that he has at least another independently operated space bridge system. And because this route started hundreds of years later than the former, it theoretically covers a wider area and is more stable. Pushur looked solemn. We do have a few routes, but they are full of unknown risks. We will pass through many planetary systems along the way, but we will also encounter extremely frequent and strong space storms. Yu just raised her lips when she heard that, and replied calmly and confidently, "It's okay. It's just a small obstacle. Not a problem. Okay, I'll tell you the coordinates." Pushur agreed in a deep voice. After waking up, Shurgong Yue yawned, slowly raised his head, and looked around. It was dark all around. Dark clouds gathered outside the window. Heavy rain was pouring down, and a feeling of loneliness arose spontaneously. It seems like I've been forgotten by the whole world. I slept till night. Yue turned her head to look at the head of the bed, and the clock stopped at 12 noon. That's what I said. How could I possibly sleep that long? After getting up and washing up simply, Yue walked to the window, opened it, and heavy rain mixed with howling winds blew in her face, and the temperature dropped sharply. The weather is really bad. It's not a good time to go out today. Let's go find Kagaya and play with her. Closing the window, Yue stroked her chin with a slight smile on her lips. Entering the hall, Yue immediately saw Kagaya's tall figure lying on the sofa. From the way she looked, she seemed to be reading a book. Yue walked closer to the sofa, leaned over slightly, and stared at Kagaya curiously. "What are you looking at?" Seeing Yue coming, Kagaya smiled sweetly, closed the book, and placed it on her chest. "You guess." "Do I need to guess?" "I've seen the book cover." Yue glanced down at the book cover, and the big words made his mouth twitch. "Intimate Paradise." Yutsuki reached out and snatched the Intimate Paradise from Kagaya's hand and said seriously, "What do you think of this kind of thing? This kind of book is not suitable for you. I will confiscate it. I will return it to you after I have checked it." Kagaya still smiled and changed to lying on her side, her seductive eyes flashing with meaningful light. "I just learned some pretty good moves. How about a sparring match?" Yo-Yue's expression calmed down. "That's exactly what I meant. I've been in great shape lately, and I'm going to make you return empty-handed this time." Hearing Yu-Yue's confident words, Kagaya raised her eyebrows slightly and opened her red lips. "Then I'll wait and see." 5 hours later, in the evening, Shurgong Yue walked out of the room with his head held high, looking energetic and his eyes full of joy, but his face was a little pale. "After all, I'm slightly better in this duel." He sighed with a smile. "I don't know when the rain stopped. The air after the rain was particularly fresh. Taking a deep breath made me feel relaxed and happy." Yue strolled along the quiet streets of Konoha, weaving through familiar roads, and soon arrived at a famous barbecue restaurant. He needs to replenish his energy. When they were enjoying their meal, Yue suddenly noticed that someone was at ING him in the group chat. I couldn't help but open the group chat and take a look. Uchiha Obito. At Shinomiya Yuzuki, at Shinomiya Yuzuki, at Shinomiya Yuzuki, at Shinomiya Yuzuki, at Shinomiya Yuzuki. "So you didn't scare me? Damn, there really is a train in the starry sky." After seeing this message, Yo-Yue's expression changed too. "Shinomiya Yuzuki. If you tried to arouse my curiosity, I admit you did. But this is impossible, Tuzi. Although we are both in the Milky Way, we are not on the same plane. How could we meet?" Yue shook her head and chuckled, then picked up the soda next to her and drank it. "This Obito always comes up with new tricks for me." Uchiha Obito uploaded a video. Yo-Yue's curiosity was aroused. What video was it? He clicked on the video. Puff. His eyes suddenly widened and the soda in his mouth spurted out uncontrollably. "Sir, are you okay?" The waiter next to him asked hesitantly. Yue waved her hands with a blank look in her eyes. "It's okay." After dealing with the waiter, Yue immediately added Obito in the group. "Shinomiya Yuzuki. At Uchiha Obito. Where is this video from?" "Uchiha Obito. Of course I took the photo myself." "Shinomiya Yuzuki. Holy shit, Man, there really is a star train? Yue was completely stunned, because the video clearly showed a train passing by at high speed. A train speeding through the vast starry sky. Uchiha Obito, huh? Don't you know? You warned me to be careful before. Namikaze Minato, what's wrong? What happened? Senju Hashirama, could it be that another Otsutsuki clan member is driving that train? Shinomiya Yuzuki, well, if it's the car I imagined, it shouldn't be the work of the Otsutsuki people. Oh no, things seem to be getting more complicated. Obito, have you been near that train? Uchiha Obito. No, before I could get close, it disappeared in a flash. It seems to be some kind of space travel technology. Shirgong Yue, what a pity. If you see me next time, please let me know. I will definitely go and see it in person. Uchiha Obito, don't go, it's too dangerous. Shinomiya Yuzuki, you said dangerous? But didn't you say you weren't close? Uchiha Obito, I missed the train, but I encountered a huge ship. Yes, a ship. A huge ship sailing among the stars. I was planning to sneak up on it and take a look, but as soon as I got close, a beam of light passed through space and headed straight in front of me. Fortunately, I reacted quickly, otherwise I would have been doomed. Shinomiya Yuzuki. In reality, Yue was so shocked that her jaw dropped. Listening to Obito's narration, Yuzuki was deeply shocked. Is this the immortal boat? I actually encountered an immortal boat. That arrow of light, could it be the Imperial Bow? But he quickly denied his guess. It shouldn't be the Imperial Bow, otherwise Obito would never have escaped alive. This guy is really lucky. Shirgong Yuzuki, how are you doing now? Uchiha Obito, fortunately, I have eaten a lot of chakra fruit, and my current strength is incomparable to the past. Shirgong Yue, then you should come back first and let others explore. Don't continue to explore the universe in depth for the time being. Uchiha Obito, understood, I'll return now. After obtaining the spatial coordinates from Otsutsuki Urashiki, Yuzuki quickly sent them to Obito. With these new teleportation points and his already fast speed, his interstellar movement speed has been greatly improved. Almost every day, newly discovered chakra fruits are put into storage. Obito had enough fruit in his hand, not only for himself, but also to generously share with other members of the group. Nowadays, almost all group members have experienced at least one evolution. The good news is that these fruits are still effective in humans, and each ingestion can bring significant growth. But the bad news is that they cannot copy the powerful and mysterious magic of the Otsutsuki clan, and can only enhance their basic abilities. Even so, such changes are still amazing, such as the current Senju Hashirama. He is already able to control the wooden dragon to fly freely in the universe. And with a wave of his hand, he can create a forest area covering tens of millions of kilometers, taking root and growing in the void. Even in a fantasy world, this tree can be called the Great Compassionate Tree King. Uncle Yue. No, Brother Yue, let's go back first. I will miss you. Boruto waved his hands reluctantly, with a reluctant expression on his face, as if he was extremely reluctant to return to his own era. The experience he had in Konoha village during this period made him linger. But the adult Sasuke is a rational man after all. He pulled Boruto's hand hard and dragged him into the space-time channel opened by the plow. After all, they're not people of this era and cannot stay here for long. At this time, Yue smiled slightly and extended her hand to invite him. If you really can't bear to leave, it's okay to stay a little longer. Anyway, with me here, time and space won't be disrupted, so it won't have any impact. Is it okay? Boruto's eyes suddenly lit up, and his heart was full of anticipation. The adult Sasuke's eyes also wavered slightly, and he glanced at Uchiha Itachi and Fugaku, but quickly regained his firmness. He shook his head. Forget it. Naruto is still waiting for us to go back. Although I miss this place, this is not our home after all. Thank you for this period of time. You have allowed me to see a different ending and future. I'm already very satisfied. Seeing the smile on the adult Sasuke's face, Yuzuki couldn't help but smile with relief. Well, goodbye then. Adult Sasuke nodded, waved his hand casually, then turned around and walked into the time and space tunnel with Boruto. Wait, Shirgong Yue, don't forget what you promised me. Suddenly, Otsutsuki Momoshiki flew out of Boruto's body, landed in front of Yutsuki, and said seriously, "Don't worry, I never break my promise." Yue couldn't help but smile. "That's good. Are you going to leave or not?" Pooh Sure, who had been maintaining the space-time channel, curled his lips in dissatisfaction. "Shut up." Momoshiki turned around and scolded. Then he turned to Yue and continued, "I will strictly abide by our agreement, and please be sure to fulfill your promise when the time comes. I'll personally deliver the things to you then. Is that okay?" After getting the promise, Momoshiki finally smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Then it turned into a ray of light and disappeared into Boruto's body. "What a fuss," Urashiki muttered in a low voice. Buzz! The time-space teleportation array was activated, and a bright light shot up into the sky, bringing these travelers from the future time and space back to their own era. Boruto and adult Sasuke, they all left. Yuu's life returned to normal again. He wandered around Konoha Village every day, looking like a street kid, watching other ninja teams train and carry out missions. From time to time, I would go out with a few good friends and have a very comfortable time. When he has nothing to do, he would go to Kagaya to practice martial arts and improve his skills. Yuzuki's power is growing every day, but Kagaya is standing still. Now, whenever the two of them compete, Kagaya ends up being defeated miserably almost every time. "No, Yue, you are too strong. I can't beat you." Kagaya was lying on the ground, sweating profusely, her chest heaving, gasping for breath, her face full of fatigue. She was completely defeated. It's really exaggerated. I was able to crush him at the beginning of our sparring, but I didn't expect the situation to turn around so quickly. He's growing up too fast. You're giving up already? I haven't even tried my best yet. A slightly regretful voice was heard, and then US slowly descended from the sky and came to Kagaya's side. Kagaya rolled her eyes. "I'm sorry for not letting you use your full strength. I've expected this day to come. Look what I brought you." Yue smiled mysteriously and took out something. "This is..." Kagaya's eyes suddenly fluttered and she sat up abruptly. "Chakra fruit?" Kagaya asked in surprise. As the founder of chakra in the ninja world, how could she not recognize such a thing? "You got it right. Here's your reward." Yue smiled and handed over the chakra fruit in her hand. "Give me." Kagaya raised her head suddenly, looking at the important treasure in disbelief. "I'm going to give it to her. Don't be shocked, just eat." Seeing Kagaya's extremely shocked expression, Yue couldn't help but smile in her heart. Times have changed. Things that were once very precious are now measured in tons. He has a lot of them stored in his space-time warehouse. After saying that, Yue brought the chakra fruit to her mouth, and when Kagaya opened her mouth subconsciously, he stuffed it into her mouth. Well, it's full. Chakra fruit is not a physical entity, but an energy body that looks like a physical entity. As soon as it entered the mouth, it turned into a huge energy, quickly strengthening Kagaya's body. Boom! A majestic aura emanated from Kagaya. The space in Tianziu was shaking, as if it couldn't bear this powerful force. Kagaya soared into the sky, and in just a few moments, she recovered to her prime, even more powerful. Spots of golden light surrounded her, holding her up high like the moon surrounded by stars, making her look like a noble goddess. What a powerful force! Kagaya exclaimed in surprise. "How is it? How do you feel now?" Yue shouted loudly from below. Kagaya stretched out a finger and hooked it at Yue with a charming smile on her beautiful face. "Come and try it, and you will know." "Hey, you dare to provoke me? Don't you know the severity of the situation?" Looking at the high-spirited Kagaya, Yuu's lips curled up slightly, revealing a wicked smile. "Break it open." Boom, boom, boom. "Shirgong Yue, are you awake? Come out and spar with me." At the door of Yuzuki's house, Uchiha Sasuke knocked on the door hurriedly, his eyes full of excitement. Crunch! The door suddenly opened, and Yue poked her head out with a droopy face. He held up an alarm clock and placed it in front of Sasuke, saying with a dark face, "Do you know what time it is?" 8 o'clock. You'd better have something to ask me. Otherwise, I will let you know the consequences of disturbing my sleep. Sasuke ignored Yuzuki's threats and kept pointing at his eyes, looking extremely excited. After Orochimaru and Ai's hard work, we finally succeeded. These eyes, obtained by fusing a large amount of Mangekyo Sharingan, are more powerful than you can imagine. Shinomiya Yutsuki looked into his eyes expressionlessly. "Oh, then what?" Sasuke was stunned. "Is that your reaction? This is something that has never been done before and will never be done again. If everything is fine, I'll go back to sleep." After leaving these words, Yue turned around and prepared to close the door. Looking at Yue's back, Sasuke was extremely anxious and grabbed him. "Don't go. How dare you look down on me? Come and have a fight. I will let you feel the power of these eyes thoroughly." When Sasuke grabbed the corner of her clothes, Yue stopped, took a deep breath, and turned around slowly. Her eyes were calm, but she said something that made people's heart tremble. "Uchiha Sasuke, you have angered a male louse." He slowly raised his hand, looking as if he was about to attack. Sasuke's eyes fixed, and he immediately drew out the Kusanagi sword and held it across his face. The Kusanagi sword, flashing with lightning, illuminated his determined face. Yue, as long as I use that move, you will definitely." Sasuke held the Kusanagi sword in his hand, thinking about something in his mind, with a smile on his face. But the next moment, his smile froze. Suddenly, there was a person in front of me. "Where is this?" Uchiha Sarada opened her eyes blankly and looked at the unfamiliar environment around her in confusion. "Sarada?" Sasuke widened his eyes and exclaimed in surprise. "Ah!" Hearing someone calling her name, Sarada turned around and looked at Sasuke. "Who are you?" There was a flash of confusion and curiosity in her eyes. This face seemed incredibly familiar to her. The voice sounds so familiar, but I just can't remember where I've seen it before. "Do you know me? Also, where is this place?" Sarada asked in confusion. But Sasuke was no longer in the mood to explain and rushed towards Yuzuki with gritted teeth. "Sure-gong, Yuzuki." But the other party only left behind a chic back, then disappeared at the door of the room, and the door slammed shut. No matter how hard Sasuke banged on the door, there was no response. "SAS, just enjoy it slowly. I'm going to catch up on my sleep." The sound of Shinomiya Yutsuki's laughter was heard from the room, and then everything returned to silence. "Are you Sasuke?" Behind Sasuke, Sarada was shocked and looked shocked. No wonder this face looks so familiar. It turns out to be Uchiha Sasuke when he was a kid. "Dad," Sarada called tentatively. Sasuke covered his face in panic. How could things turn out like this? Sasuke glared fiercely at Yutsuki's door and quickly adjusted his expression. When he turned around, he had returned to his usual indifference. "It's me." After getting Sasuke's confirmation, Sarada's face suddenly broke into a happy smile. "Dad, what's going on? Why did you become smaller?" Sasuke looked at Sarada seriously and said, "It's not that I've become smaller. For some reason, you've gone back to the past. This is the past time and space, so what you see is the younger me. But it's okay. I can handle everything." "Okay, Dad." Looking at Sarada, standing obediently beside him, Sasuke couldn't help but smile proudly in his heart. "Sure-gong, Yue. Do you think you could defeat me like this?" "Just kidding. I'm Uchiha Sasuke. Come on, Sarada. Let's go back to the Uchiha clan first." Sarada nodded and followed. Suddenly, Sarada smiled and said, "Dad, you were so cute when you were a child." Sasuke almost slipped and fell. Shinomiya Yuzuki. The image accumulated over the years collapsed instantly at this moment. Time flies. After Obito returned the chakra fruit, the chat group's development speed seemed to have skyrocketed. Originally, it was just Obito who was silently planting trees and harvesting fruits. But now, with the blessing of the chakra fruit, all the members in the group have already possessed the strength of 6 paths level. At this moment, they all have the ability to cross the starry sky and can go to farther places alone to sow seeds. 5 years passed in a flash. Not only the group members, but almost all the residents of Konoha Village in UU's time and space have entered the 6 paths level. Every ninja who can be named is already embarked on an interstellar journey, exploring his own path in the boundless universe. The era of six paths for everyone is about to begin. At the same time, the chat group continues to maintain a strong growth trend, with new people constantly joining it. As the group leader, Yue has already prepared a detailed guide for novices. 1. Determine the historical background and the length or stage from when the main storyline occurs. 2. Find Danzo and take his gold coins to obtain the initial source of funds. 3. Create a new ninja system based on your preferences. If you're not strong enough to deal with Danzo on your own, you can go to group member Danzo to ask for support from the root organization. However, this requires that new members are willing to accept and join the organization as a prerequisite. The time and space where Uchiha Obito is located. A terrifying figure quickly swept across the starry sky, surrounded by a shining light of light blue. Just a hint of pressure released was enough to make nearby planets tremble and shake. Where is it? As the divine light faded, Sigong Yuyue's true appearance was revealed. He looked around at the vast expanse of space with a look of confusion on his face. After countless times of absorbing and accumulating the essence of the chakra fruit, he has now reached a bottleneck. Just by thinking about it in your mind, you can break through the current level and move on to another dimension. In the last leg of the journey before leaving, Shinomiya Yuzuki roamed the entire galaxy looking for the star train and ferry boat that once appeared in front of Obito. However, no relevant clues or traces have been found so far. Although he failed to find his target, he unexpectedly discovered several characters from the Otsutsuki clan who were obviously much weaker. For Yue, it was as easy as observing a group of ants. She could complete the entire spying process effortlessly without noticing anything. After careful examination, one thing can be confirmed. There is no other mysterious power hidden in this world except that from the original Hokage itself. Forget it, just treat it as a joke. With a slight smile, blue lights surged, and the figure instantly disappeared into an unknown place tens of millions of kilometers away. Since you can't find it, just give up the search and choose to ascend to a higher dimension directly. Stop and rest for a while in a lonely and desolate area. Then he chose a floating meteor, sat on it, closed his eyes, and began to meditate, preparing for the final stage of the sprint ceremony. All the necessary arrangements have been made, and now there are no worries to hold me back. And this is not a real farewell, it's just one step ahead of them. I believe that in the near future, Uzumaki Naruto and his companions will be able to follow them and continue their journey here. As his mind flowed, the sealed power in his body was instantly released and burst out, instantly covering his entire body. Shirgon Yuzuki, wake up, Shinomiya Yuzuki-san. The increasingly urgent sound in her ears gradually woke Shinomiya Yuzuki from her deep sleep. She looked up at the source of the sound and was confronted with Irika's stern face with an extremely unfriendly expression. Irika! Yuzuki was stunned when he saw this. It took him a moment to realize that the way he addressed her was wrong. He immediately corrected his tone and asked again, Teacher, what can I do for you? After hearing the other party's formal answer, Irika's expression improved a little, but he couldn't help but remind him. Remember to use honorifics when addressing your teacher, otherwise it will be very rude. After that, he emphasized again seriously, wake up and concentrate on the class. You still have a long way to go before you can pass the exam. You need to work harder to improve yourself. Looking at the student who was still drowsy, he sighed helplessly, said a few words, and then turned back to the podium to continue teaching. As soon as the figure moved away from the seat, the surrounding area immediately began to whisper. Look at him. He's already at the bottom of the class, but he still doesn't behave himself in class. I'm really impressed. Don't imitate this lazy style. Otherwise, you may face an embarrassing situation in the future. I don't understand what this guy is thinking. These insignificant words did not stir up any emotion in Sigong Yuyue's heart at all. What really concerned him was, why was he in a classroom at the ninja school when he opened his eyes, even though he was clearly preparing to perform the ascension operation. I wonder what's going on. I looked around and saw familiar faces. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Ino, and other classmates were all sitting there properly. He will also be noticed when he looks at the other person. But the interaction between them was quite cold and lacked warmth, like a stranger meeting on the road. What exactly is going on? Is it a time-space disorder, or did I accidentally enter a wormhole when I was about to succeed? Just as he was constantly guessing in his heart, the school bell finally rang as expected, interrupting the flow of thoughts. Accompanied by cheers, students in the classroom rushed out of the door. Yuzuki, let's go too. Don't be upset. Irika-sensei didn't mean to target you. I'll treat you to ramen. Naruto walked up to Yui with a smile and extended his hand to invite her. Seeing Naruto's familiar smile, Yui felt a little more at ease. No matter what you have experienced, as long as there are familiar people around you, you will always feel a little warmth. Okay, I'll take you there. Yutsuki responded with a smile, took Naruto's hand, and prepared to cut through space and head straight to Ichiraku Ramen Restaurant. However, his movements suddenly stopped. He couldn't even sense the existence of space, not to mention opening it. He looked down at his palms, his eyes full of disbelief. My power. His eyes were filled with shock, and he could hardly accept the fact before him. His power that once could reach the sky and penetrate the earth has disappeared without a trace. That doesn't make sense. Even if time and space were somehow changed and sent him back to the starting point, why did the power disappear along with it? Yuzuki, what's wrong with you? Naruto asked in confusion after noticing something was wrong with his companion. Are you okay? I am fine. Yui had a complicated expression, not knowing how to express her current mood. Now that things have come to this, let's go eat ramen first. Without thinking about anything else, Yutsuki went to Ichiraku Ramen with Naruto. Arriving at the restaurant, Yutsuki looked at Naruto enjoying the delicious food in front of him, but he had no appetite at all. After trying secretly several times, he found that he still could not sense the existence of any energy in his body, as if he had become a completely ordinary person. Suddenly, I remembered a sentence. There is no such thing as the invincible Sigong Yue. What exists is just a beautiful dream of a laggard in class. Yue shuddered suddenly. My memory is fading. He was shocked to realize that his past was beginning to blur rapidly. The chat group, friends, Kagaya, and all the related experiences faded away quickly like illusions. Just a moment later, Yue opened her eyes again, her eyes full of confusion. Who I am? Yue? Why aren't you eating? Naruto, who was eating, noticed the abnormality and asked, Yuzuki? That's right, I'm Shinomiya Yuzuki, a villager from Konoha, the land of fire. Both my parents are dead, and I'm your best friend. As if redefining herself, Yue gradually sorted out her own identity information. I was a little absent-minded just now. I'll eat now. Just like the players who were given new roles quickly adapted to the current situation, all memories of the past disappeared, and even their identities as time travelers were forgotten. As time goes by, without the influence of special powers, the world continues to operate according to its established trajectory. The ninja world did not change because of the addition of Yuzuki Shinomiya. Konoha's collapse planned during the Chunin exams, the death of third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Uzumaki Naruto, and Jiraiya set out on the journey to find Tsunade. Not long after that, Uchiha Sasuke defected. The Akatsuki organization was besieged. Jiraiya was killed in the Hidden Rain Country. A series of events happened step by step, until, light up this world, infinite Tsukuyami. As these words rang out, brilliant light covered the entire area, and the dark night became as bright as day. Infinite Tsukuyami is activated, and all living things fall into a deep sleep and delusion. Amidst the rumbling sound, the roots of a giant tree rose up quietly and slowly wrapped around Sigong Yue, who was standing still, intending to lift this person who had returned to ordinary life into the air. Fight! The barrier of dimension upgrade has been broken. The chat group is loading. Recovering strength. Boom! A heart-pounding breath suddenly erupted. The eyes of Six Paths Madara in the sky suddenly became solemn. This power! His skin was covered with tiny bumps involuntarily. Am I scared? Six Paths Madara's voice trembled slightly. Damn it, you scare me so much that I really thought it was just a dream, but it turned out to be an illusion. At the critical moment, it is still Lao Ma who is able to give you strength. I love you, Lao Ma. I will give you money in the next life. A cursing voice came, and then a figure slowly emerged from the void. Yuzuki. Naruto below was stunned when he saw the person coming. Isn't the other person his best friend, Shinomiya Yuzuki? But Yutsuki is not even a ninja. How can he have this level of power? Naruto, hello. Yutsuki waved at him with a smile. Yuzuki. Naruto responded excitedly. Yue, what's wrong with you? Shirgong Yue smiled mysteriously. I'll explain it to you later. As for now, change for me. Yue pointed, and the Six Paths Madara below was suddenly shrouded in a cloud of white mist. Under the white mist, his Six Paths robe and even his body shape changed. The smoke cleared, and a brand new Madara appeared before everyone. The most eye-catching thing is the pair of slender thighs, tightly wrapped in shiny black stockings. Going up, there's a red skirt. Her plump breasts slightly push up the tight skirt, and it is unknown how much of it Hashirama's face occupies. And above it was a face that was as cold as ice, but now full of shame and anger. What have you done? Change me back. Madara gritted her teeth, glared, and unconsciously covered her chest with her hands. What a tattered piece of clothing, with so little fabric. Yue smiled wickedly and gestured with her hand. Don't you want to dance? Come on, dance with me first. If you make me laugh, I'll change you back. You're dreaming. Madara squeezed out a few words from between her teeth. It's really boring. Just keep it like this. Yue looked disappointed, then touched her pocket and suddenly threw something at Naruto below. Naruto, got it. Naruto raised his hand and took it. After looking at it for a moment, he was a little confused. What is this? Chakra fruit, something that will be of great benefit to you. Yue said gently, I'm leaving. Maybe this world was created because of me, but maybe it will collapse after I leave. Of course it may not, but I still decided to leave you a gift. Wild geese leave traces when they pass by, and the wind leaves sounds when it passes by. As long as I, Shirgong Yue, have been to a place, I must do something. This is a parting gift. Sayonara. With one last wave of his hand, Shirgong Yue's figure gradually faded away. That guy is your friend? Uchiha Sasuke quietly held down his shaking arms, turned his head, and asked Naruto in shock. Naruto looked at the chakra fruit, somewhat confused, and put it in his pocket first. Hearing Sasuke's question, he nodded immediately, grinning and revealing a row of large white fangs. Yes, he is my best friend. When did you meet such an amazing friend? We've known each other for a long time. We were in the same class at the Ninja Academy. Have you forgotten? I forgot about it. A****. Don't go. Change back. Madara was horrified and flew up quickly. But when she rushed to the place where Yue had just been, there was no one there. Damn it. Madara gritted her teeth, feeling extremely angry. When had she, Uchiha Madara, ever been humiliated like this? Milk. Suddenly, a simple and honest voice sounded tentatively. Huh. Madara's heart tightened, and when she looked down, she saw Senju Hashirama standing below. I can't let Hashirama see me like this. That damn guy. If Hashirama saw this, he would make fun of me. Must leave quickly. However, the next moment, a tall tree quickly grew up from the ground, and soon, Senju Hashirama was in front of him. Hashirama was surprised and said, Madara, how did you become like this? I am not Uchiha Madara. You are mistaken. Madara quickly turned her head away to deny it. It's really weird. I didn't expect that I would be recognized like this. How could I be wrong? Don't you have a badge on your chest? Hashirama blinked and pointed a finger at her chest. What? Madara suddenly lowered her head and saw a badge hanging on her chest with the 4 big characters, Uchiha Madara, written on it. That damn guy. Madara was immediately furious. Okay, Madara, stop making mistakes and put an end to infinite Tsukuyami. It's not too late to turn back now. Hashirama persuaded earnestly. Madara said nothing, glanced at Hashirama, then turned and flew away. Infinite Tsukuyomi is her lifelong goal, and even Senju Hashirama's persuasion is powerless to change that. Milk, seeing that Madara was unshakable, Hashirama anxiously reached out to grab her. Strange, why does it feel so soft? Where are you grabbing? Sorry. Needless to say, I will not end Infinite Tsukuyomi no matter what you say. Madara's face flushed as she left quickly, leaving behind only a resolute back. Alas, it seems I really need to use this thing. Hashirama pulled a small pink button from his pocket. The mysterious man said that as long as you press this, Madara will turn back. Hashirama took a look and saw 5 buttons, labeled 1 to 5. After thinking for a moment, he directly pressed the number 5 key. Madara's body suddenly trembled while flying, and then fell to the ground. At the same time, Infinite Tsukuyomi and God Deep Forest Creation also gradually faded away. It really works. Hashirama was overjoyed. Spirit and God united. Boom! In an instant, Gong Yue felt his mind become clear, and he understood many mysteries instantly. It was as if some kind of restraint was broken, and the field of vision expanded instantly, as if the soul had left the body and turned into a god's perspective. He saw himself still sitting in the meteorite, quiet as a mirror. Then his line of sight shrank rapidly and suddenly pulled upwards, and everything around him became extremely small in an instant. Yue saw the entire planetary system, the Milky Way, and even the entire universe. He is ascending in dimension. In the end, everything returns to nothingness. Yue wandered in the void for an unknown period of time. There was no concept of time or space here. Finally, he saw a ray of light. Yue was delighted and hurried over. When I got closer, I found that it was a door. Door! Without hesitation, Yue pushed it open. Behind the door was an ordinary room. With curiosity, he stepped into the room. I heard a crackling sound and followed it, crossing the room and coming to the balcony. A figure came into view. It was a young and handsome man who was typing quickly on the computer. In an instant, Yue understood the other party's identity. He smiled slightly and walked closer. Walk behind him and see the words on his computer screen. Chapter 1. How can you be the protagonist if you have never been the last one? Yue smiled evilly and reached out to cover the other person's eyes. Don't look back, little Jiho. I'm Gong Yue.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500-plus novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.